Hi, and welcome to COM 181, writing a 3-point outline for your speeches. So today, I really kind of want to talk about how do you take a speech and organize it into 3 points. So your first assignment is writing the introduction, and then you have writing the body, and then you'll do writing the conclusion. So view this as 3 different sections of your organization for your outline. For every speech you give in class, I want this exact outline to be shown, and you will post it when you post your speech as well, and we'll go over that when it's time. So the first thing, let's talk about writing your intro. Within writing your intro, you will see that you have 3 sections to this. You have an attention getter, a thesis, and a preview of your 3 main points. So let's talk about your attention getter first. Your attention getter is anything that you want to say to grab your audience's attention. This is the first time that we're gonna say, yes, we wanna listen to this speech, or no, it doesn't really interest us. So think of something that will really grab our attention. Some examples would be a statistic. Maybe you start with the story and you continue the story throughout your speech. Maybe you tell us a fact about what you're doing. Maybe if you're talking about a place to visit like the Bahamas, you really describe a beautiful day on the beach. Anything that's gonna grab our attention. And then your thesis. Your thesis is the most important section of your speech. This tells the audience what you want us to know at the end of your speech. So when you are finished with your speech, what should we walk away knowing? That's your thesis. If you don't have a strong thesis, you won't have a strong speech. If you're working on your speech and you're just like, I'm not getting anywhere with it, it's just not, I don't feel good about it, go back to that thesis and adjust it as needed. And then you have your preview of your 3 main points. That's really simple. That's just, hey, these are the 3 areas that we're gonna cover, right? So that you're writing the intro. And all of this information is in the 3-point outline speech on the left hand of Blackboard. Then you're going to do a transition sentence, and you're going to do these transition sentences between each of your main points after your intro and before your conclusion. So with your transition, you're just moving us from your intro into your first main point. Really easy. Then you have the body of your speech. The body is the meat. So when you're thinking about the timing of your speech, you want to think, okay, if my speech is 6 to 8 minutes long, which is what our last 2 speeches are, I am so sorry, I am at school and the bell just rang. Then what you need to say to yourself is the body needs to be the biggest part of that speech. So some speeches have 3 to 5 points. For the purposes of our class, you only need 3 points. So a first main point, a second main point, and a third main point. So you go from your conclusion, your transition sentence, the body of your speech, and there you have your first main point. Then you have subpoints, and the subpoints simply supplement your main point. Then you have your transition sentence from your first main point to your second main point. Then in your second main point, you have subpoints, transition sentence from your second main point to your third main point, and then you have subpoints, right? Now, let's talk about the subpoints. How many do you have to have? Well, it depends on what your topic is and what information you want to give us. So in your first main point, you may have 6 subpoints. Your second main point, you may have 2 subpoints. Your third main point, you may have 5 subpoints. That is all dependent on you. Now, I will say for you to remember that when you are giving or writing your speech, we as individuals, and especially when we talk about that listening in chapter 3, is that we will zone out just by nature, right? So I'm creating this video. It's gonna be about 5 to 6 minutes long. You may watch it all in one setting and you may get distracted. Someone may come in, you're gonna lose something, but you could rewind and watch again, right? Well, as speakers, and when you're giving a speech to an audience, we may not have that opportunity to zone out and rewind and listen to what you're saying. So if you have a weak point, put that in your second main point, because we're on board with your first main point and we're gonna be on board with your third main point. So if we're gonna zone, it is going to be in that second main point. So just a little tip to remember. Okay, so you have your 3 main points, right? After your third main point and your subpoints, you're gonna have a transition sentence, and that just leads us into your conclusion. The conclusion is the intro in reverse. So you will review your 3 main points. You will then tie back to your thesis, and then you'll tie back to your attention getter. None of those should be the exact same as your introduction, right? So they help each other, they complement one another, and they bookend your speech. You should tie back. You should never say the same thing you did in your intro. You could say, at the beginning of the speech, I told you this story, and now this is the conclusion of that story. Something to that nature. Again, don't forget that in the conclusion, we don't want any new information. We just want you to wrap it up. We want to walk away with remembering something, right? So whatever it is that you want us to remember, that's in your conclusion. You want to go out with a bang. Start with a bang and go out with a bang. That is writing the 3-point speech. Very important. And when you are working on your speech, you will work on that 3 points, you will write it, and then you'll practice delivering it. So when we get into speech time and for you to deliver your speeches, what you'll do is I've had the course due dates up now. So you will go back and look and say, okay, our introduction speech is here. This is the outline. So go ahead and start writing your speech. And I will give more information on the introduction in the next couple of days, but go ahead and write it and then time it and practice it every day. You should practice your speech every day. It's 10 minutes of your time. You can do it in your car. You can do it while you're getting ready, just so that you feel more confident. And when you practice, you want to time it. So that way you know whether you need to add something to your main points. Maybe you need to edit. Maybe the conclusion doesn't work. The more that you practice, the better you'll feel. So 3-point speech. You've got your intro, your body, and your conclusion.